Hey everybody, here we go again, and it's another little bit of an exploration into what we know matters when you go to communicate with a patient. What's all about the communication and the spine? Well, it's all about how that body is set up to handle posture. You know, if you're into posture, it's about how the gravity is being distributed through there. And there's no better way to look at how gravity is, using energy within your body than with the surface electromyograph. And so if we take a look at this scan sequence, this is the insight scan related to the neuroCORE, which is associated with the collection of SEMG at 15 different segments along the spine. And the one on the right is the before, if you will, or the initial one, and the one on the left is the one that we're taking a look at to see the changeability of this person. And what we're doing when we're measuring surface electromyography is that we are looking at energy expenditure. And if you remember last week, or you were following along the way we look at scans in sequence between HRV, electromyography, and thermography, is that we form a dialogue called RED. Now, last time I put together the R, which was the reserve, and the HRV. Today we're looking at energy expenditure. E obviously stands for EMG as well. And its exhaustion is the other part of the E cycle. And so what you need to understand is that when we take a look at a scan sequence like the amplitude one, which is in the top right-hand corner here, you're going to see that there are different colored bars. And those colored bars represent standard deviations outside of the norm. The white bars represent the relatively normative ranges which have been published. And then what we do is we take a look and say, well, while that person is just simply engaging gravity, how much energy are they spending? And related to the subluxation, we know that the body in its complex design is constantly trying to conserve energy. So it will try and take difficulty away from where one area is compromised and throw the ballast out and try and hook a guy wire up to another area. And this is why we get distortions in posture and energy expenditure that's different. And the totality of that energy expenditure is what we look at in the bottom right. Those black lines are actually distribution curves of basically coming from the motor cortex in the brain all the way down through the spinal connective relationship of the spinal nerves and the motor nervous system, which is firing those muscles. And so you can see that it should be a nice symmetrical one, and we know that sort of vase-shaped relationship. But take a look at what's going on this bottom right one, where we start to see all of these distortions, and every time you see the distortion, imagine that it costs energy. And if we want to see how much energy, we look to the top right, and we start to see that in the mid-thoracic on the left-hand side, we see 3 times, which is red, 2 times, which is blue, 1 time greater than 1 time, which is the green. But those yellow ones are the ones that really matter to us because they've gone to hypotonicity, which means that there's been exhaustion that's happened. So take a look down below that, and you'll start to see that the signal literally collapses in the most important supportive part of that spine. And this means that the body has gone past that point of where it is trying to expend energy to protect itself and has gone into that unsupportive mode. And so you can read the extent of the subluxated state, and we refer to this energy expenditure as dyskinesis. Not we do, the literature does. And what it means is that in the literature, we can say, oh my goodness, we need to awaken that area at some point and start to get energy back. And so this is why we do a comparative and take a look at the difference in this one in Madeline. What we have is that we have the upper right going to the upper left, and look at how there is this calming responsiveness throughout the spine itself under a 12-visit model. And notice that the yellow is now starting to re-engage. And we can see the same thing, that the distribution pattern, especially in that mid-thoracic, has completely started to cycle back into this natural rhythm. And this coherence, this taking of noise out of the system, is what we do better than anyone else on the planet, and it's called chiropractic. Chiropractic isn't about hitting the high spots. It isn't about stretching muscles. It's not about pulling blades down on connective tissue. It's about understanding how we can interact with this intelligent design. So we activate the area, and we don't, so that the body activates the areas that it no longer needs to feel depressed in and takes the energy away from it because those guy wires are no longer necessary to support an unsupported system. So have a look and think about how your adjustments are interacting and what you can do to make this a better system that looks much more like the top left and the bottom left. Why? because that's chiropractic in action. And CLA has invested enormous amounts of time and energy into understanding how chiropractic is the profession which uses the tools that manage the health and life of the patient, not simply the comfort of the patient. And that's why we dedicate ourselves so much to understanding the energetic distribution. And that is what you see, especially in those pattern graphs. Have a great one.